I've had some people ask, what are the advantages to a suppressor? Now, the main advantage is sound suppression. You know what I mean? Helping protect your ears and helping people around you have a more enjoyable experience.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? If somebody's fishing or kayaking, we've talked about that before, they're not going to be interrupted. But talk about some of the other advantages to a suppressor.
Yeah, and like we talked about here, you wouldn't, even a small one like this, you wouldn't put it on there if it didn't offer something. And the number one thing is it makes it slightly less loud. The other thing it does is it offers recoil mitigation. So you can have a bare muzzle, and then you can have a muzzle brake on the other side, and the suppressor is about halfway in between the two without the added blast of a muzzle brake. So you know, a muzzle brake is even louder than a bare muzzle, so you get some suppression and you get some recoil reduction.
So not only the recoil reduction, but like you said, you know, the biggest advantage, even though the question was, you know, another advantage, is sound suppression is the largest advantage, and that's where the smaller ones, to me, you know, really come into play. Because when I'm hunting in a field situation, I'm not magged up, and you know what I mean? I'm taking one shot or two shots on a coyote, something like that. Or when I'm lucky and 5 of them run in, I may get a couple other shots. But it's one of those situations where I'm not shooting the gun repetitively all the time. And to me, the lighter ones with the reduced weight, you know, as opposed to some of the older ones or the first suppressors that I've used, I think there's a lot of advantages.
And for the bystander too, we talked about like with the family, but also in a hunting situation, you've been with somebody with a brake and you shoot and you literally blink trying to see what the impact was. So, you know, that's another one.
That's a great point.
Yeah, it is sound suppression, but it's not just like it's just quieter, but it also has another thing. And for the person shooting, you're able to see it better. And then there's another thing is the impact of the bullet on the animal is easier to hear. You know how you hear the thump?
Yep.
And then you know how, depending on the suppressor, you can hear bone break at certain ranges, you know, so you start to have a better idea of what happens there, and that enables you, it's the same sound suppression, but it's not just because it's quieter, it's being quieter allows us to do this other thing.
So there's some other advantages. That's a great point. You can hear your impact, just like with shooting plates. You know, a lot of times I wouldn't be able to hear that with the reduced, you know, with the reduced sound with the suppressor. A lot of times I'm gonna be like, oh, hit. You know? So it's kind of fun. So there are a lot of other advantages, really. And like you pointed out, another great one, since we've both been next to the gun, guiding elk hunters, guiding deer hunters, and things like that, being able to help them out without getting that blast from the side.
Sure. So it all basically runs down to sound suppression, but that goes in several directions.